Hey guys, it's Zypic and welcome back to yet another Rust base build. Built for medium-sized groups, this design can comfortably fit 3 to 9 players. Comprised of 3 external TCs, I've used wall stacking to ensure the highest raid cost for this design. And with over 40 boxes of storage, you won't have to worry about running out of any loot space. The core of this design houses 3 individual wall bunkers, and once upgraded to armored, the raid cost to the bunkers alone will be just over 50 rockets. The base comes complete with 3 individual small gap peak downs and full outside window coverage. Along with this, you'll get 3 separate bedrooms and full roof access to the top floor. And with the base being entirely made of triangles, the build cost is surprisingly cheap. I expect even a trio group could finish this build in under a day. So with all that said, let me introduce you to the trinary bunker. You may think that wall stacking is daunting if you have little experience, but don't worry, I've clearly laid out all the steps you need throughout this video to make this base from start to finish, even if you're a beginner builder. So with all of that said, let's get into a quick base tour and then I'll show you guys how to build it. Let's start by looking at one of the 3 external TCs. Each external is at least a 7 rocket raid, but you can upgrade these throughout the wipe as you progress. And of course, the upkeep cost is on your screen now. Now let's walk over to one of the 3 entrances of our base and head inside. Heading through the first 2 doors, we'll see 2 windows on our right, and our left will bring us up to the second floor. It's important to mention that this base is fully symmetrical, so the entrance you see here will be repeated on the other 2 sides. Passing by a few more garage doors and some furnaces, we'll get to our first loot room and also a Dropbox storage. Taking off the glass window will reveal the loot room, and at our feet we have a few bags, and through a small gap we can access the Dropbox. Now let's open up the center of the base so you can begin to see the symmetry of the design and also understand the second floor layout. As you can see, I went through and opened up all the doors that we've already passed and the entrances. And the last 3 closed garage doors will of course lead us down into our bunkers. Heading down the ladder, we have 3 drop boxes of storage space, and if left open we can also close the front doors to the base from inside as well. Now to open the bunker, simply climb back up our ladder and place down a triangle roof piece right in front of the wall. And as the wall isn't connected to anything else, the socket will open up, allowing you access to inside of your core. Of course, we have a trap set up to demolish the twig if someone jumps in without TC privilege, and behind the garage door we have 4 more large boxes for our main loot. As you would expect, demolishing the bunker is just breaking the twig, and with that said we can head back upstairs and continue on with the tour. I've placed my tier 3 workbench above the second bunker so I remember which side has the TC. If we open up the garage door down here, you can see we have a window, and we can remove that and get the main TC privilege to the base. The TC upkeep is on your screen now, which I find relatively cheap for this size of base and its raid cost. And this leads us to our 3rd bunker, as well as our jump up to the 3rd floor. And as you would expect, this bunker is an exact replica of the first one that I showed you. Now with the bottom sections of the base toured, let's head upstairs to the 3rd level. Right away you'll notice that this floor is very open, which is great because it gives us easy access to any door. You'll also see that the full roof access is right in the center triangle, which of course deters any raider from trying to splash top down with rockets. Behind the sheet metal double door we come to our first peek down and window floor room, and here you can see the use of the small gap peek downs I've implemented. And just like the second level, this floor is all symmetrical, meaning that the window floors are repeated on all 3 sides. And this leads us into the last 3 garage doors up here with our bedrooms, 2 of which are doubles for 2 players and the other one is a single room. Overall, there's a total of 5 beds. And finally, let's head up to the roof access. You can see we have a few windows to look out and our double door which opens outside. Up here, I've used the wall stacking to create some very useful pixel gaps, as well as a few windows and some wall gaps. And with all of that said, we've now finished the entire base tour, so let's get into the build. I recommend building this in a very flat area because you're going to have to place down some raised and lowered foundations. We'll start by building in our basic starter with a foundation at eye level, 2 lowered and then 1 more raised. Next, we're going to do a quick test and place down 4 foundations all lowered off the back of our starter triangle. We'll need these later on when building in our 2nd and 3rd bunker, so make sure you're able to build them in now before you start using your resources. Next, let's go ahead and upgrade all of the original 4 triangles we placed down. And then we'll hide these lower foundations by using half walls and triangle floor pieces. Now we'll place down a few walls and our TC on the original raised foundation. And now we can seal off this room, only leaving out the second raised triangle foundation that we placed down. Lastly, throw a double door on the front, and at this point your basic TC starter base is finished. I would not recommend living out of this base just yet, as it's very easy to deep right now with only one door on the front. So with that said, let's work on the second part of the starter base and build our external TC. We'll start by building out 3 triangle foundations from the door to help us line up the external. We're then going to build 7 square foundations outward, with the 8th one being a triangle. Now, only leaving the triangle foundation at the end, demolish all of the 7 square foundations and the 3 triangles at the door. We'll then run over to our 8th triangle and start building back in with these half moon shapes until we're back at the door. Then to complete the external, build off 2 triangles on the right side and also 2 on the left. With all of this twig now complete, we can see the line we want our TC to lay on, so we'll demolish any extra twig that we don't need. We won't need the last 4 triangles off the back of our TC, but you also won't have privilege, so you'll have to break these out by hand. Now let's upgrade all of this twig into stone, and then we can place down our first external TC. Now for those of you who don't know, triangle foundations like this are not actually connected at the points, so to keep our base from decaying, we'll place down 5 wall frames on the left side of all of these triangle foundations to connect it to the main base. Next, we'll place down a few triangle roof pieces on these open foundations. Notice that the bunker wall is not connected to the core, but instead the TC, which is what allows it to open when we place in a roof triangle. Also, note that there is a small gap in the bunker wall for now. This will eventually be sealed up, but it's good to know of it. If you need to jump out for now, you can use twig and just create a half wall. If you don't have ladders just yet, a really good no BP way to get out of the bunker is to use tuna can lamps. I recommend placing down 1 on the bunker wall and also 1 on the opposing side as well. You can mess around where you want them exactly, just ensure that you can still open up the bunker once you have them placed. If the roof triangle shows up as red, you likely have the lamps placed too high on the wall. Next, let's build in the roof to the drop down. Make sure the 2 triangles you see me place in here are connected to your external TC and not the core. However, note that the 3rd triangle we place in will be a floor frame, and in which case that will be connected to the core. For this step, you'll have to open up the bunker to place in the frame. As you can see, the frame nicely covers up any gap in between the roof and the wall. Let's now place in all the walls on top of the drop down. Make sure the second triangle we can place here is connected to the first one. There should be no gap on the roof. You may be concerned about this small gap in the wall though, however this will be sealed off the second we begin the upgrade stage of the base. Note that you cannot place any wall frame on top of the drop down, as it won't allow the bunker to open anymore. The final step of this stage is of course just adding a door on the top, and at this point the external is complete. Let's now start on the second floor build. On the right side of our upper door, we're going to place in a wall frame, then a window frame, and then a full wall. This will lead us around to our first front door, and we'll use some wall frames to seal this off. We'll use a half wall and some triangles to make a basic jump up, but feel free to use furnaces if you'd rather those instead. Have your front door swing inward so you can close it from the inside of your bunker. Now adding the roof triangles on top is surprisingly tedious, so follow these steps very carefully. We'll start by placing in the 2 closest to the garage door and the window, and also 1 right above the drop down to our front door. Notice that you're able to place in this left triangle on 2 different sockets. It should be the left socket and not the right one. And if you do this correctly, the other triangle should place in nicely and there should be no gaps in the roof. If you see a small gap like this on either side, you've done something wrong, so demolish it and try again. And if everything looks good, we'll begin placing down all of our Tier 1 deployables in the base. With the inside now furnished, I would consider this the fully finished Tier 1 starter base. For the next step, we'll begin upgrading some of the most important components of the core to metal. Before you move on, ensure your entire bunker section has been upgraded fully to metal. And of course, don't forget to upgrade the walls on the inside of the base as well. Obviously, be very cautious when upgrading around the twig, as not to upgrade it accidentally. For the final step of this section, I'm going to upgrade all of the walls around our external TC. And with our metal upgrades now complete, we can begin work on the second external TC and bunker. As you probably expected, this is going to be an exact replica of the first external TC building steps. Now for any of you who need a little more help, here's the top-down process of me building the entire TC. As this is already our second bunker and I expect you have the resources, I'm going to auto upgrade all of these walls to metal. As I've already built this section in the first bunker, I'm going to build this part a little bit faster and with less explanation. And of course, feel free to start placing down any needed boxes inside this bunker, however I'll be saving it for the last step of the video. And once again, the final step of this bunker will be upgrading the external TC to metal. Next, we'll get on to building the third and final bunker. As I've already built this section twice now, I'm going to skip through a little bit just to save some time. Feel free to skip around to the first or second bunker if you need extra help. And at the end here, we're going to auto upgrade all of our TC area to metal as we would have done it later on anyway. Because this section is going to be our roof access, we're going to leave it open above the bunker. If you're ever having difficulties placing down the walls like I am, remember you can always get a floor triangle and place it down to help you build in the wall. There are two sockets for us to place in this roof piece. Make sure it's on the back one connected to our two walls. And that way we can fill in this gap with the garage door by using the roller. If you haven't already, this should be the time where you replace your tier 1 with a tier 2. Now you'll notice that there's some splash honeycomb here that we need to fill in. There's one on each side in between the bunkers. Once all this honeycomb has been upgraded to metal, go around and also upgrade all the foundations these walls are sitting on. Once that's finished, build out another triangle from this section and build up 2 walls on each side. Once that's finished, head back up to the second floor and fill in the top of this honeycomb with either stone or metal triangles. To get to the last bit of honeycomb, you'll have to pick up the original window we placed down in our starter base and jump through the window frame. Next, let's throw together our 3 4-box loot rooms on the second floor. Next, we'll fill in a few door frames where the other entrances will eventually go. So with that said, this section of the base is now finished and we can begin working on the other two entrances. Again, be careful how you place in this roof piece, make sure it's in the left socket, not the right one. I'll skip through the building process of the third entrance to save some more time. Now let's fit down all of the boxes in our upper loot rooms. Let's then remove all of the upstairs deployables and fit down some garage doors in all of these slots. And I'll skip showing you this step, but of course I placed down the doors on the other two sides as well. Now in the center triangle of our base, we'll upgrade this wall frame to metal and place down two more right next to it. You can now use this upstairs room for all your bag space. And I'd also recommend upgrading the triangle above your TC to armored. Now outside to the left of this metal honeycomb, we're going to place in 4 walls on top of this triangle. And to honeycomb the drop down chute, we're going to place in 2 walls right above our front door. You likely won't be able to reach the wall up top, so you'll have to place it through the roof inside. Now up on our roof, go ahead and fill in all of these open slots. But if you have 2 options for sockets like I do here, make sure you place it on the farther one out connected to the walls and not the inner roof. Next, I'm going to go down into all the bunkers and upgrade any metal walls to armored and any stone bits to metal. Once the bunkers are finished, I'm going to seal them off and then begin upgrading all of our drop-down chute section to metal. I'm just going to keep the foundations as stone, however, as I feel like it's a bit of a waste. If you haven't already switched it out, this is around the time where I expect you have some ladders to use, so we're going to replace those in our drop-down chutes. With most of our downstairs upgrades finished, we can head up to the roof and begin upgrading this basic pattern to metal. With the second floor finished, we can now begin working on our peak downs. Once you've finished adding in all of these triangles, place in 4 window frames on each side of the peaks. Once we've finished adding in all of these frames, you'll notice we can honeycomb the area where our bedrooms will be. Now we're going to isolate each of the peek down rooms by using walls on each side. Now we can begin work on the bedrooms. Go up to one of the rooms and look for the inner triangle and the outer triangle. The inner one will have your wall frame and the outer one will have your wall. This ensures that we can actually fit in 2 beds and a locker in each of the rooms. Now right in the middle of our base, we're going to use these half walls to build our jump up to the roof. Now before we seal off the entire roof floor, we need some extra stability, so I'm going to go around and add in these wall frames right across from our peak downs. Start by building in all of the middle triangles attached to your jump up. Then do the outside of the base, skipping all of the bedrooms. Just make sure that the triangle pieces are connected to the outside walls and not the inner ones. We'll build in the top of the bedroom off the wall frame, so that way we have a small gap on the left side. Don't worry though, this gap will eventually be filled in when we have our roof pieces. Don't forget to also upgrade the top of your drop down. And with the third floor now complete, we can begin adding in a few embrasures and some other final touches on the window floor. If you haven't already, let's now finish up the second bunker in the core of the base. Now let's upgrade the last bits of our second floor loot rooms, also rotating the walls so that they face hard side out. And as you can see, when it rotates, it very nicely covers up that gap that we had originally in the drop down. This is around the time where you would place down your tier 3 workbench. You may want to choose a different side to place it on though, because if a raider has seen this video, they'll know which side to hit for your TC. Sometimes building in the double beds can be finicky, but I promise placing the locker in the very back corner and both beds should fit. Also up here is where we're going to place down our research table and also our repair bench. When placing down your roof pieces, you'll notice that there's two sockets they can fit into. The triangle roof should be on the lower one, and the square roof should be on the upper one. Feel free to choose whether you want either a window or an embrasure in this slot, but I personally like a window as I like to see outside. Here's a good auto turret slot if you have a bit of extra power. And if your team tends to get confused in the base, as it is a bit of a confusing second floor design, I recommend using signs like this that you guys can put down and show your teammates what bunker is what. Finally, here's a few more turret locations you can use. I hope you guys enjoyed the build. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.